All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're upgrading to Forge. Here's what you need to know. So we're aware that there have been some performance issues, incidents, and other difficulties with Tempo apps because of the Forge migration. So today's session is all about answering questions that you have about these things. Many of you pre-submitted questions, so thank you for this. From these, we see a lot of common themes, and we're happy that we're able to answer many of these questions. These answers will be in the presentation content itself, and we'll also have an extended Q&A section to answer more questions for the latter half of the webinar. So we're going to get right into it. So who's here today? So my name is Connor, and I'm a learning content specialist here at Tempo. Part of my role is ensuring that customers like you gain value from learning sessions such as this. And we have many experts on the call today. So we have Julia, Senior Product Manager, who handles Structure, PPM, and Gantt charts. Also Courtney, Staff Product Manager, who will be speaking about custom charts. Ksenia is on the call as well, who will talk about BI connectors. And we have Catherine, Senior Product Manager, who handles our Tempo for Jira products. So timesheets, capacity planner, and financial manager. And we have some more product experts in the background to help answer questions as they come in. So please ask away. All right, so the topics for today. We will give a quick overview of Forge, what it is, how it works, and how you know you're on it. We'll discuss how the move to Forge affects current migrations from DC to Jira Cloud. After this, we'll get right into Tempo-specific product changes, Tempo product-specific changes due to Forge. This is where many of your pre-submitted questions will be answered, as most of them were about our specific products, so timesheets, structure, etc. This section will include status of open incidents and when these should resolve, and also any UI or feature changes, as well as expected versus unexpected behavior in these apps now that they're on Forge. The rest of the webinar will be dedicated time to live answer both more of your pre-submitted questions and questions that you asked here today. We'll end by pointing out some learning resources and next steps to take if necessary. Okay, so Forge migration overview. Atlassian is requiring apps to move from Connect to Forge. So what is Forge? It is Atlassian's modern cloud-native platform. Described another way, it's Atlassian's next generation developer framework, moving on from the legacy Atlassian Connect framework. Atlassian is ending support for Connect in late 2026, so moving to Forge is a requirement from Atlassian. But it's a good requirement because migrating to Forge has many benefits. First of all, long-term Atlassian cloud compatibility. It is essential for the long-term use of Atlassian cloud apps. It is a resilient, feature-ready, and AI-ready ecosystem, and with it, there's enhanced security, reliability, and performance. So, a bit of context on how the Forge rollout works. So Tempo controls when to begin the bulk upgrade from Connect to Forge, but Atlassian randomly selects which instances to upgrade. So Tempo has no control over which instances are chosen. That said, once the Forge version is released, admins can manually update instances by clicking on Update, and the team will have full control over timing. Note that once you're on Forge, certain major versions that require admin consent will require manual update. Okay, Forge rollout status. So this shows the rollout status of our apps and their corresponding deployment dates. Be sure to have a look at the apps that you use. An important thing to note here is that new installations and trials automatically get the Forge version, in addition to anyone who is manually clicking on update. All others will still be on a non-Forge version if the product's automatic migration hasn't started yet. All right, so we got a few questions about this. So how to know if you're on Forge. So to verify if you're on Forge, organization or billing admins can go to Jira settings and then marketplace apps, and then click Take Me There and view app details. And you can check your app version against this table that shows the versions that are on Forge. I'll let you have a look at that for a few seconds. And quick reminder that you'll have access to this slide deck in the coming days. So you will have all of this information. Okay. Forge and migrating to Jira Cloud. And then we're going to be getting into the product specific stuff. So how does this change my DC to cloud migration? If that's in process, or it may be soon. So as I mentioned a couple slides ago, new installs will automatically be on Forge. Be sure to check your DC versions. The version you use for Forge may be different from the one used for Connect. And in this period of transition, we highly recommend contacting support before scheduling your migration. Support will provide product-specific advice to help make your migration experience as smooth as possible. All right, so speaking of product-specific support, we're now going to talk about how Forge affects our different products. So first up, we have Julia to talk about structure. So take it away, Julia.
Hello, yeah, thank you. Let's talk about structure. I'm a Julia Structure Product Manager, and I would like to share something about our updates in Forge for Structure and Structure Gantt. So first, yeah, the incident update. In short, what happened? The root cause, the structure was unavailable for some of you, and the root cause was a platform level limitation from Atlassian side. So we had failures in generating Forge authentication tokens, which caused a problem with authentications, and as a result, structure was just unavailable. Good news, it is fixed. So we worked a lot with Atlassian, super closely with Atlassian, and the result, we already deployed the fix. Didn't saw any problems since last Thursday. If you experience any problems now, please contact our support as soon as possible. The only one thing that is still in progress, and we are still investigation together with Atlassian, it's not possible now to use a service account as a structure owner. And if it's your case, please contact our support team. Let's talk a little bit more about what changed in structure and what other kind of changes you can notice in your structure. Let's go to the next slide for that. First, the URL format has been changed. It is true for all products. In structure, we already had a redirection. So right now, if you clicked something in your favorites or inside of the app itself, everything gonna work as it worked before. But if you had some links saved in your bookmarks or somewhere in your documents or in your invitation to some meetings, you will see that message that you can see right now on the slide on the right side. If you see that message, you will also be redirected to the new format of the link. Please just save the new format. We do not have any plans to stop this redirection mechanism, but just in case, it's better and safer to save the new format, of course. Also, the UI a little bit changed. So right now, to open the structure, you need to kind of click twice. So the first click gonna open the menu with structure and cross-team PI planner in it. Just click the structure if you only wanna use this product. And cross-team PI planner is something that was in structure for a while, but probably you never saw this page. What next? Catherine gonna talk more about changes in timesheets. But if you use this integration, probably you use Tempo accounts or Tempo teams in your GQL in inserted rules. This is something that you will need to update manually. Also, if you use a custom domain in your Jira, you can experience issues with custom icons. And also some of our users experience problems with firewalls. And I specifically put their link how to solve it. There is just troubleshoot article from Atlassian. But let's talk about some good things that you also can see in Forge. And let's go to the next slide. So first of all, finally, you can see the name of your structure in your tab name. So if you have multiple structures open at the very same time, now you finally can understand which is which. Also, we support smart links nowadays. So if you want to just add your Confluence macro, like additional gadget in your Confluence with the structure inside, you can just copy their URL of the structure and paste it in the Confluence. That's it. You're going to create the gadget like magically. Also, you can use Jira Teams in Gantt resources without any formula usage. And finally, we will move our Rovo assistant. It is the Rovo agent, which help you to create the formulas right inside of the app. So right now, it is something that you need to install additionally, but really soon in next couple of weeks, it's going to be inside as part of the structure. And this is all from structure side. Back to Connor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. Okay, next is going to be Courtney to talk through custom charts. Very quickly before then, it looks like the chat of the webinar is on. Please make sure that if you have questions to ask them in the Q&A feature. It's much easier for our experts there to answer your questions, and then for us to be able to see those questions for the end of the webinar where we'll be able to answer them live. So yeah. If you've asked questions in the chat, please make sure to transfer them to the Q&A feature, and from here on out, use the Q&A feature for questions. Sorry about that, and thank you so much. Courtney, give it to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Connor. Hi, everyone. As Connor said at the beginning of the call, I am Courtney. I'm the product manager for our custom charts line of products, here to talk with you a little bit about what we've seen in our migration Forge. So first, like Julia, wanted to own this transparently with everyone. We did experience an incident upon our initial migration to Forge. So we want to come to you with the current state of that. This did impact both custom charts for Jira and custom charts for Confluence. Through our investigation, we were able to determine that the issue was occurring due to the size of configurations in the gadgets themselves. Specifically, they were being added into the token that we use to communicate with our backend, and the size was too large and was being blocked by AWS. We have worked with Atlassian to resolve this entirely for Jira, and we have largely resolved it for Confluence now. We are currently still working and partnering with Atlassian to strip as much of the configuration as we can from the token so that we can fully resolve it for Confluence. We do expect that to happen this week, but keep an eye on our status page and we'll keep you updated there. All right. Next, we did have a couple of other changes that did come with the migration of Forge as well. So the first one is regarding gadget edits specifically for custom charts for Jira. Previously, custom charts for Jira allowed you to go in and be able to edit a gadget on a gadget by gadget basis without having to go into dashboard edit. In order to proceed with this moving forward on the Forge version, you will need to go into edit your dashboard first, and then from there you'll be able to edit your gadget like you can with other Atlassian gadgets. The second is a change for external URLs, and this is going to be across the board for Forge. Specifically, if external URLs are not explicitly defined in our manifest so that the system isn't aware of them in advance, you are going to be receiving a pop-up now just saying, hey, this is trying to take you to somewhere else. Make sure you're okay with it before you go there. This is common security functionality seen across other sites as well. So I do think that this is a change for the best, but it is something to be aware of, and it is expected behavior. All right. And then the last thing that is coming with the Forge version, as soon as you are on the Forge version of custom charts, you are going to have impact or access to our new Rovo agent as well. This is going to be a Rovo agent that allows you to use natural language to be able to create charts, dashboards, or add them to existing dashboards directly from within the agent so that you can get everything that you needed created without leaving your current context. We are excited to be bringing this to you, and we look forward to hearing what you think about it. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Connor. Thanks, y'all.
All right. Thank you so much, Courtney. And now I will pass it to Ksenia to speak through BI connectors. Floor is yours, Ksenia.
Yeah. Thank you. Moving to BI connectors and specifically to Power BI connector. We introduced Power BI embed reports application that is already available on the marketplace, and it's free of charge. This application fully replicates functionality of Power BI Gadget that was previously available directly inside Power BI Connector. Yet it was taken out to better enable targeted functionalities through the Forge platform. The next one, data scopes. Unfortunately, not all APIs are available in Forge. And to reduce negative impact, we are actively communicating with Atlassian to ensure that they are present in Forge. Until then, you may use current Jira API token. And the last one, URLs, as already mentioned by Courtney, by Julia, formatting of our URLs has changed, and we recommend replacing your bookmarks if you have any. Back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jasania. All right. And with this, we're going to get to Tempo for Jira. So that's Timesheets, Capacity Planner, and Financial Manager, and Tempo Core. So I'll give it to Catherine for this.
Thank you, Connor. Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine, the product manager for our time tracking and financial management apps. And today I'll be walking you through the changes that may or may not apply to you that were brought about by the Forge migration to timesheets primarily. Some may apply to Capacity Planner and Financial Manager if you're using Tempo accounts, for example. And a wee reminder about Tempo Core at the very end of this also. So this was a prevalent, frequently asked question. What impact does it have on your data? It also is coming out in the Q&A. Does it impact the Tempo API? A reminder that there is no impact on historical data. So your work logs, timesheets, accounts, teams, configs are intact. There's also no impact on the Tempo API, but only on the OAuth URLs, which we'll cover in a bit. So there is no action item to back up anything, as this migration only changes the underlying framework, as Connor mentioned, from Connect to Forge, not the underlying data. I've also snuck in, once you are on Forge, how we'll notify you in-app. Those are the in-app notifications that you'll get. You'll see them in the My Work area of timesheets, or the equivalent areas in Capacity Planner and Financial Manager, and also in the issue view and the log time form. Now we're going to get into the changes, but first, some context. With this move from Connect to Forge, our apps had been using a custom field type schema in Connect that was no longer supported in Forge. So per Atlassian's guidance, we are now using a field type called object. That has brought upon changes to the JQL filter syntax. There is a table here of what's affected. Primarily, they are account, Tempo team, internal issue, and JQL filters using custom field IDs. But in our documentation, there's loads of examples. This is just the takeaway of what's affected. So if you use these in bookmarks, scripts, or automations, note that this will be a breaking change. To help with this, however, we are rolling out a Forge migration feature called Broken JQL Filter Finder. So once you are on your Forge instance, you can see this option under Tempo settings, as you can see here. And from here, you can easily then find the list of filters that contain invalid or broken JQL, and you can click on any one of those, and it'll take you to the appropriate view to update them. So our recommendation is, if you're affected by these syntax changes, once your instance is on Forge, again, you'll be notified by these in-app notifications. Please use the Broken JQL Filter Finder to find those broken filters and update them as soon as possible. All right, next up, given the changes to account and Tempo team, there's also some operator support changes. For this one, I'll actually do a live demo to explain it better. In the old behavior, account and Tempo team did not support the contains and not contains operators. In Forge, they are now supported with the caveat that all properties within the field are searched. And let me show you what that means. Hopefully the screen is coming through. So this is an account, rather an instance still on Connect. I've got an account called maintenance with a category of OpEx. In the old behavior, when I go to look for an account, The operators supported are equals and not equals. And I can easily look for an account called maintenance, and it will give me such results. But given that on Forge, due to the field type update to object, we renamed account to account.name, as you saw in the previous slides. I've now flipped over to an instance on Forge with the same setup, name called maintenance, category called OPEX. When we are in the filter view and we're trying to then search for accounts, I'm in basic mode. As you can see, there are no longer the equals and not equals options, but we've got a way to search for text field. When I mentioned that the property fields are being searched, this is what I mean. If I look for OPEX here under account, it actually gives me the results, even though we know that these are account under maintenance, which might cause confusion. And this is what I wanted to highlight in a live demo because this is the takeaway that searching by account now could be quite confusing because of this contains not contains caveat of properties being searched. So our recommendation is for more specific filter results, please have a look at the other operators and the specific account and team JQL syntax. So you can look for those right away without the additional layer of confusion. Next up, we're covering changes to automations. So in the work item fields condition, as highlighted here in the screenshot, the account field shows deleted field now. This is expected post-migration, and there's no impact on functionality. However, in new automations, in the new Forge behavior, the account field is not available in this condition anymore. So the workaround is to use a JQL condition, say, for example, to emulate what was done in the existing automation, to do JQL condition, account is empty. Another change to automations still involves the account field. In the old behavior, the account field was available under the edit work item available fields option, as you can see here. But in the new behavior, it doesn't appear in available fields. We do have a workaround though, which is to go to more options within the edit flow. And under additional fields, you can set the account using JSON. The last change, last known change to automations is in transitioning work items. So in the new behavior, when we're transitioning a work item, say from to do to in progress, it might be that for a custom field in the screenshot account, you might see a text box instead of the expected dropdown. The workaround here is, as a user, you can go to your personal Jira settings, go to general settings, and you'll see this option, new work transition experience, which you can enable for yourself, but that only works for your work items. So within this workaround, our recommendation is to actually contact your admin, who can then contact Atlassian so that they can apply this new work transition experience org-wide. We do have a separate recommendation, maybe a good call out that we have tried to raise these issues with Atlassian. So wherever we can, we're also going to reference the public-facing issues that you can also reference in your Atlassian support tickets. So for this particular one, if you would like to reference EcoHelp 122509 in your support tickets, I think that would also help speed up the resolution. Moving on to bulk editing custom fields. Again, we've changed the type to object, and this is a known limitation in Forge that bulk editing custom fields is not supported. You can see in the screenshot that it expects a JSON object instead of the usual selectable value. For this particular issue, our workaround is to either use the Jira Edit Issue API or Jira automation. Similar to the previous one, we have a public-facing issue that you can reference in your support tickets in case this process and workflow affects your org. Next up, this is a change to those who are using JSM and request types. So setting default values for hidden tempo fields in request types is currently broken in Forge. This is a known issue. There is a ticket attached. So if this affects you, please again refer to it in your support tickets also. But there's not much to it. It is currently broken in Forge, so we are waiting for a fix. And currently, this might hinder issue creation entirely. So next up, Tempo API is not changing, but there is a change to the OAuth URL format. You will see the formats old and new. Even though the old URL currently works for both Forge and Connect, our recommendation is to update to the new URL right now, which also works for both Forge and Connect. It's just that the old URL, we don't know, or we cannot guarantee how long it will remain supported. So please minimize the risk of disruption and update to the new URL today. I saw a bunch of Q&A entries about the impact of Forge migration on logging time. This is maybe one, in case you are relying on the Tempo panel in Jira work item screen, this is a change that happened. So before, it was possible to show the Tempo panel in the Jira issue view by default. It looks like this. But after moving to Forge, it is no longer possible. So we need to re-enable it on the Jira work item screen. Our recommendation here is to have your admin add the Tempo panel, because as an admin, they're able to see this show for all work items option that can be then applied to the whole project at once. However, they still need to do the actions per project. If not, it can be done by user, but it only adds the panel to the current work item. Similar vein, in addition to this main Tempo panel, it also appears in the right-hand sidebar. From some support tickets, we heard that it may be missing there at times. So if that is happening to you, the workaround is to go into Jira settings, go to time tracking, and toggle the time tracking provider. If that doesn't work, please contact our support team and we will gladly help. And again, this is one of those known issues. So if this is affecting you, please reference Forge 1513 in your support tickets to Atlassian. Again, related to those who are asking about impact on logging time, if you were logging time with the keyboard shortcut W, the old behavior was that these keyboard shortcuts worked anywhere in Jira and Tempo. In the new Forge behavior, these shortcuts are not global anymore. So on Jira, we're now being required to first open the command palette, so Control K or Command K, and then the shortcuts can work. So if you're on any Jira estate, this is the prerequisite. The good thing, though, is that on Forge, keywords are now supported. So we've added handy keywords like Tempo, the app names, so that you can find them readily. On Tempo, everything stays the same. So that's the takeaway. And again, there's a related public-facing ticket that you can also reference in your own support tickets to Atlassian. To wrap up the changes, there are just a few. If you're using Tempo reports saved as bookmarks, they won't work. So if you have not upgraded yet, you can, of course, always save the report. That will be there post-upgrade. If you've already upgraded, you can recreate the report and rebookmark or save it. I think Julia also mentioned this already in the structure section, but in case you have any firewall configuration issues, it might be that you need to allow the list of Atlassian domains. And in our documentation, there are smaller UX changes like links opening in a new tab or notifications appearing right instead of left. They are all covered in our documentation. Now that I've talked about the changes that may apply to you because of this Forge migration, I'd like to talk about the good things about moving to Forge. You will get 3 Rovo agents out of the box, namely Timesheets Worklog Assistant for logging time, Timesheet Summary Analyzer for quick reporting insights wherever you are in Jira, and Sprint Performance Assistant for quick sprint insights. And once you're on Forge, you will readily find these when you search in the Rovo search agent bar, as you can see here. And since we're on Forge, we also were able to simplify the setup. Before it required a Tempo API token, but that is gone due to Forge. And this one is a change that occurred on both Connect and Forge instances, but I wanted to highlight it anyway, that there is a new Tempo Help menu. So all the key resources are available in-app in one place, including a quick link to the key changes on Forge. And many of you mentioned, how do we get the latest releases on the apps? Here's now a quick link to our release notes, among many other resources. All right. After having covered the changes and the new features, let's say, here are our recommendations. For cloud customers, first of all, thank you for attending this webinar. We urge you to review the changes to expect once you move to Forge. All are linked throughout the deck. And our recommendation really is to perform a manual update so that you can control the timing of your instances migration. Again, these changes that I've walked through may or may not apply to your org. So say it doesn't apply to you, then please go ahead. You're able to. Otherwise, if you wait for the automatic rollout, it won't be possible to schedule or delay or opt out once that's started. And right now, we are tentatively looking at beginning the rollout in early May. For our DC customers whose migrations are in progress, we are working actively to resolve those issues. And again, given the new automatic rollout tentative start date of early May, that gives some leeway to resolve those migration issues. And last but not least, for those DC customers who have not started their migration, our recommendation is, of course, to wait until your instance is on Forge before starting and to review the changes as part of your migration preparation. Now comes the reminder about Tempo Core. When manually updating, please don't forget about Tempo Core. It is the free base application that works as a companion app for Timesheets, Capacity Planner, and Financial Manager. You will likely see something like this where both need to be updated. Please don't forget to do so as you update the other apps. And to wrap up, I've just listed all the Atlassian tickets that you can refer to. Otherwise, yeah, we hope that helps clarify the changes to expect on Timesheets, Capacity Planner, and Financial Manager, and Tempo Core. Back to you, Connor.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine, for all of that information. That is great. Let me get my screen sharing going again. Okay, so as I mentioned at the start, there were lots of pre-submitted questions. Thank you so much to those of you who, thank you to everyone, but thank you also to those that submitted questions before. Hundreds of questions, lots of those were answered in those product-specific sections that we just had. We did write down a few that we wanted to speak about directly as well, so I'm going to go there now. Okay, so first question, how do we know in advance when Forge will be rolled out for our org. A little bit more context around this, maybe. So I think Courtney, you are answering this question.
Yep. Hi, everyone, again. So the first thing I would say is that automatic upgrades for all of our apps are paused at the moment. So anyone who is currently upgrading manually, that would be a business decision on your part. As for when automatic upgrades will start again, that is going to be done on an app by app basis once we feel comfortable enough with the current state of the platform to move forward with it. So if you do have specific apps you would like to know this about, I would encourage you to reach out to us directly just so we can discuss those more. That said, in general, the automatic upgrades are processed on a random basis by Atlassian. So we have a way to say, okay, we're ready to start upgrading now. 500 sites are pulled in. We don't get to define which sites those are. We see them after the upgrade is run. So because of that, we don't really have a way to let you know in advance when it's going to be rolled out for your org because we don't know either. Which is an unfortunate answer, but if you do have something specific that you'd like to talk about for your app more, again, please feel free to reach out to us directly, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have on this. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Courtney. All right, the second one I think is for Ksenia. What is the most efficient way to ensure that Forge is enabled on every single project in our Jira system?
Okay, a bit about how Forge is enabled. It is enabled per application, per instance. So by default, it is enabled for all projects because it is per application, not per project. And if you want to know whether your application is already on Forge, the best way is to check version. Versions were provided at the beginning, and you will get these versions with materials as well.
Great. Thanks, Ksenia. Okay, Catherine, this one's for you. I'm an Atlassian or IT administrator for my org. Do I need to take any action for this change?
As covered in the timesheets section, there might be actions that the admin can take right now, namely, for example, updating the OAuth URL to minimize disruption. But for all other things, I think depending on the change and if it applies to the org is the real answer here. And it's outlined in the respective buckets of what changed. A note here too is that, yep, most of the changes will need to happen once one is on Forge. So going back to the topic of automatic versus manual, if the org and the admin would prefer to control the timing of their migration, then it's on the admin when aligned with the org to do so through manual update.
Perfect. Thank you, Catherine. And this next one is, oops, sorry about that. Who's this next one for? I think it's for Julia. What steps do we need to take to continue using and ensuring our historical data is migrated?
This is the easy one. Historical data is not affected. And Catherine also mentioned it on the slides for timesheet, like all your data, like accounts, work logs, everything going to be in place. So it's just nothing to do with it. It should work as it is.
Short and sweet. Thank you. Courtney again. So will our Tempo apps be available on Atlassian Government Cloud or AGC?
Yep. And the answer to this is yes, we are looking at AGC for all of our apps. The timeline for those is going to differ on an app by app basis. So again, if you are looking at AGC for any one of your apps in particular, we do encourage you to reach out to us. But broadly, we can say that yes, we are looking at moving to AGC with all of our apps.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. So those were, like I said, we had so many pre-submitted questions. Those first few especially were asked many times. So yeah, we tried to see the common themes and to make sure that we could touch on those more general questions around Forge as well. Now we're going to move into a live Q&A. So there are lots of questions being asked and answered in our Q&A feature in the background, but there are some here that we would love to answer live. Oops. So first, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to do them in the order that they are that they're marked to answer. So I believe this is probably for you, Catherine. In case of disappearing account value, how fast are you going to solve the tickets you suggested we make?
This is in relation to the Atlassian tickets to reference, right? Um, it depends is the answer. So certain fixes really do have to come from Atlassian, and that's why we are urging like everyone's voices to be heard and refer to these tickets. If it is something that Tempo can resolve ourselves, our team is definitely on high alert for these things. So that's why our collaboration is definitely most important in certain cases.
Okay, perfect. I think this one might be for you again. Will we have access to that filter finder before migrating so we can prepare?
Ah, they are only available, or sorry, the feature is only available on Forge instances because it detects the broken syntax, right? Because it changed to the new and therefore detects the old. Um, one thing though is it's not limited to the tempo broken JQL syntax. It actually finds all broken syntax.
Okay, I'm seeing some questions about DC to cloud migrations. I'll ask this one. I think this is probably going to cover a few people's questions. So, hello, can we safely migrate from DC to cloud with Tempo Timesheets data, or should we stay still? Should we still stay still? At the moment, we only received a stop migrations warning, but not a green light.
That is right. We did send an email to all of our DC customers. The recommendation then was to pause all migrations, especially as we discovered these Forge-related issues. But now that we're crystallizing, slowly but surely crystallizing the start of our tentative rollout, which is early May, and I failed to mention this earlier, that already considers some timelines that were shared with us from Atlassian to address some fixes. So we're accommodating these as we update our guidance. But for DC customers, those that are actively migrating now will benefit from the delayed rollout. And those who have not planned yet will definitely, as I mentioned earlier, this recommendation is to wait for the instance to be on Forge, and that will then ensure that everything is, so to say, up to date.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Sorry, Connor, may I add though
Oh, keep
that
going.
yeah, just to just to double down on the suggestion to if you're in doubt pre-migration, please feel free to reach out to the support team always.
Okay, and I'm seeing oops. Wow, I've done that many times, haven't I? This sorry about that, everyone. Slippery fingers. So, okay, we've talked about this, but maybe now live we can give it even a bit more context. So, when is the timeline for the Forge migration to complete? Is there any tentative date you might want to provide? Someone be able to hop in for that one?
So this is again going to be on an app by app basis. So if there is a specific app you're talking about, I would encourage you to reach out to us just so we can discuss it a little bit more. For custom charts and structure, we are currently still monitoring to make sure that the fixes that Atlassian has put out for our apps will hold. And depending on how that goes, we may be beginning bulk upgrades again shortly. For Tempo for Jira specifically, and everything that Catherine talked through, we do want to make sure that we have a real solution for that as much as possible before we move forward with bulk upgrades again. So again, for any specific apps you have, I would just encourage you to reach out to us directly so we can talk more on your use case and scenarios.
Okay, and then Catherine, you may have answered this. But I think it's a good one. So do the JQL changes mean the filters used for dashboards, etc., will be broken until they're fixed?
If you are still on Connect, it is still the old syntax, so everything stays the same. But once you move to Forge, if your dashboards are using JQL filters with the old syntax, then they will break. So these will need to be updated.
Okay, thank you. And I know that we're actually time is slipping away. But we're answering lots of questions in the background, but there are some that I think would be really worth answering live for you all. How can we perform the manual update? Wasn't it being rolled out without our control? Can someone give a bit more context on that?
Can we just show the slide again that we had about the manual and automated updates? So in general, like again, it's product by product basis, but the idea is that right now you can update it like manually to Forge. Yes, this is a slide. So in Jira administration, there is an update button near the name of the product, so you can update it like right now. But also we will have their kind of bulk update upgrade for all our Connect on Forge apps. And as Courtney already mentioned, we do not really have opportunity to select like specific instances and order how and when it's going to be upgraded. So it's gonna just go one by one automatically, yeah. Or you can, manually update it like today. Hope it helps.
Perfect. Thank you, Julia. Sorry, everyone, for all this quick clicking through slides. We are going to wrap up. We slotted this for 45 minutes, and I'm realizing that we're already over. So a few resources to point out to you that are going to be really helpful. So there's a Forge frequently asked questions document. So this is going to be continually updated with FAQs, frequently asked questions from today, as well as just in general around Forge. Hopefully this helps you have success with Tempo apps after the Forge migration. We recommend that you bookmark this page, as I think it will be very helpful for you, even as a starting point. Of course, we're providing a link to reach out to our support team. So that's included here. Our experts mentioned many times, suggesting reaching out to support, especially for product-specific advice, of course. Linking our new learning center, or relatively new learning center. This is a great resource to learn about each of our cloud products. It's on the Tempo website. And yeah, it's been really helpful for customers so far. So I'm linking that here as well. And there's a couple blog posts. One shares a bit more context on Tempo's move to Forge. And then there's another one within each, or within which each product's status page is included. So status on current incidents, etc., as well as links to the expected changes for each app. And like I said, this is going to be shared after, so you'll have access to these resources, of course. So that brings us to the end of our webinar. There's going to be a pop-up survey when the webinar ends that'll ask you some questions about the content that we covered. So we appreciate, as always, all your answers, feedback, and suggestions. Just one more time, I'll say there will be a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar and this slide deck with all of these resources that should be helpful for you. So thank you so much, everyone, for your attendance and participation. We really appreciate you coming here today. We hope to see you again soon, and have a great day.